You're curious about Albany, California? In this video, we're going to review the pros and the cons. Hey, I'm Katie, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. I have new videos coming out every week. In this video, Jason and I, my colleague and friend, are going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Albany. I've lived in the East Bay for over 10 years, as has.
I've been living here for over 10 years as well, primarily in Albany.
You were here before, you moved to Brooklyn, and then you came back.
That's a fact. I was here for 4 years.
Where are you from originally?
LA.
So Californian at heart?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we can talk in another video about the differences between NorCal and SoCal. That'd be cool.
There's a lot of differences. I would never go back to SoCal. Not a lot of cons, but there's a lot of pros, I think. It's very family oriented. It's a beautiful place to raise children. It's got a good community vibe. People know each other. You see the same people often and you get to know them and they get to know you, which is lovely.
All right, so one pro of living in Albany is that it's only 1 square mile, so it has a small town feel, yet you have a lot of the amenities that you would in a larger city. What do you think about that, Jason?
I agree with that 100%.
Another pro is that because it is small and because there are a lot of spaces to commune, it has a very great sense of community here.
Facts. A lot of great places for people to hang out, a lot of parklets, which are beautiful along Solano. It kind of keeps you safe from car traffic, and a lot of great places for the kids to go, playgrounds, libraries, the community center. A lot of great places to hang, and a great bike path. That's right off Key Route, right under the train.
Oh, yeah. Another pro is the quality of the schools. A lot of families move here, or folks move here because they're thinking of starting a family and wouldn't have to pay for private school because the quality of the schools is
9s and 10s across the board. And it's really easy to navigate the school system here, which is really lovely. There's one centralized unified school district building where you go and get all your things together. They make it easy.
And only 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. Another pro, even though Albany is small geographically and has a small population, there is no shortage of places to go in terms of restaurants and bars. There's a high concentration of staple or landmark bars in Albany and a high concentration of restaurants, high quality restaurants on Solano Avenue and San Pablo Avenue.
For sure. I mean, you are not going to run out of things to eat or drink in this town for quite a long while. Another
pro, the city is well run, I would say, compared to other cities in the East Bay. For example, the Building and Planning Commission.
Oh, great. Easy to navigate.
Also easy to navigate, right? Like you said, you could walk in and actually find a building inspector to approve. I think there are only 1 or 2 building inspectors, which is also an advantage because when getting your remodel or your renovation cleared through building and planning and getting your permits approved, you have 1 person and 1 person's subjective analysis of your property and your project throughout that project.
And these people are very intimately aware of every nook and cranny in this town. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and so you can contrast that with Oakland and Berkeley, Oakland especially, where it's hard to track down a building inspector. You can't just walk into the Building and Planning Commission at any time of the day to access that inspector. You won't get the same inspector on a project. You could have 4 different building inspectors throughout your renovation project. In Berkeley, it's also not as streamlined. Lots of red tape to make things happen. And then in talking about the police department, because Albany's so small, they're omnipresent, you would say, and they also know the community really well.
And you get to know them as well. It's beautiful.
So very responsive. So when talking about cons, it's difficult, genuinely, to find a lot of cons about Albany. But if you're coming from another part of the United States and you are evaluating median home price, which in the last 6 months was 1.5 million for single family homes, that can seem a little bit out of reach. Keep in mind, you're not having to pay for private school like you would in other Bay Area cities. So when evaluating median home prices in the Bay Area, it's important to look at the school district and the price of private school. So while it might be a con that the median home price is well above the national average, relative to other East Bay cities, it's actually quite reasonable at 1.5.
It's a word. It's a word you could use. I mean,
as a lender,
you get a lot for your money in a place like Albany, because you're not just buying the house, you're buying the accessibility, the walkability of, an 89 out of 100, which is very high, and the amenities. And of course, like we mentioned before, the police and fire are very close by at all times. Feels safe. It feels protected. It's really, really quite lovely.
So another con is that Albany doesn't have its own BART station.
Well, wait, that's not true. El Cerrito BART is literally at the border of Albany and El Cerrito, and again, very easy to get to, fast.
Like 5 minutes walking, 3 minutes biking.
Depends from where in Albany you are, but yes, within a reasonable amount of time to get to public transportation, yes. And it's extremely easy to get a ride back and forth from your spouse or your friends or your
Well, there are
kids.
also like a lot of casual carpools too to San Francisco, which I can say like a con of living in any East Bay city beyond Oakland, where you're not right across the East Bay Bridge, is that there's a lot of traffic on the 80.
Fast.
So even if you carpool, if you drive by yourself, which I discourage you to do, but if you drive by yourself, you will face a lot of traffic if you're not going through either way, if you're on the 80 or you're on the thoroughfares in the East Bay leading to the bridge, you're going to face a lot of traffic, and that commute can be stressful.
No, you want to do public transportation to San Francisco. There's the BART, or there's Transbay, which is a bus which goes across, not underground but over the water, and it has its designated lane. From Albany to San Francisco, it's probably 30 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, with those Transbay bus lines, there are quite a few that run through Albany. I was going to say with BART, you mentioned driving to BART. The El Cerrito Plaza BART, one thing you should know is they're getting rid of a lot of the parking.
Really?
Yes, to develop housing.
That's a great idea. We'll talk about that later in our next video, which is where you're going to park when you want to take your public transportation.
Another con, seemingly a con, right, is that there aren't a whole lot of adult-centric activities at night, but there are a lot of bars. We've already talked about there being a bar.
And there's a great movie theater, has some, it's more of an art house movie theater, and of course the Ivy Room, which is the live music.
Yeah. But you don't like to bowl, I hear, so Albany Bowl closed.
That's closed. It's so loud. You don't want a bowling alley. What adult's saying, let's go bowling? When you can go see live music or, drink. I love to drink. You
could drink while you bowl.
No, you can, definitely. It's the only way you can
not
bowl.
Ideal.
It's, I don't know.
Anyway, not many real cons to living in Albany.
That's what I think too. That's exactly what that's what I tried to say before we started the video. I think just pros and pros. And if you're looking for some pros, clearly you've found them.
Anyways, that does it for all of our pros and cons for Albany in 2021. If you want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below. I have new videos every week. So there's a lot of information we haven't touched on regarding Albany, Kensington, surrounding East Bay cities. Feel free to reach out. My contact information is below. Same thing with Jason.
I'm always around.